Welcome to the Pink Room, a space for real talk by real women about the real issues of our day.
As minorities, we're not only your day laborers. We're not only the ones that clean your houses or your hotels, right? We are human beings that have capacity to be part of every area of this country.
Our strategy needs to be to get into these political offices.
Every election, every seat, every office.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Teresa, if I would just like to say, I don't consider myself a minority. If the world wants to see us as minorities, because we are actually the majority, but if they want to see us as minorities, then call us the super minority.
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
People started to post some microaggressions that they were experiencing from their professors.
Wow.
And hearing so many perspectives, they're like, you have to do something. If I have the resource, I'll do well as well. I'll do well just as well as others do. Don't make things easier for me. I just want the resource. That's all. And I think that's the misconception, that they think that we want handouts. We don't want handouts. We just want what the others get. That's it. Give us what you give others, and we will do just as well.
Excellent. Ashley.
As long as you can ensure that one group of people in this country have access to good education,
right,
another group does not have access to adequate education, right, you basically guarantee that the group that has less access to good education, then remain the sickest people in our system. And so you have the conflation of several policies, or the absence of policies, that basically create and sustain the perfect storm in this country.
That's not where your affirmation is going to come from.
Right.
Humans fail us all the time. It is not in someone else. You can't find in someone else what you cannot find first within yourself. And what entryways were there for someone else to come in and feed you false narratives? You have to build up those fortresses first. And when I say fortresses, I don't mean walls to block people out. I mean confident within yourself to know that you can look in the mirror and say to the mirror, Latoya, you're loved. I love you. I love you. You are beautiful.
Start your watch parties. Cast the Pink Rim on your HD TVs. Post your comments in the chat. This space is yours too.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pink Room. Welcome, Tricia.
Hola, Norca. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Today you see the beautiful photo of our friend Molisa, Parchment-Stand, dear friend of Tricia and myself. And we want to take a few minutes in her honor to share with you our feelings about her. Molisa passed away yesterday. The news of her parting has really shocked our entire world, our networks. I want to start by maybe us talking about how we remember Molisa, and then maybe your fondest memories of her. And those of you who are joining us, we invite you to, if there's someone in your life that today you would like to give honor to, that recently or not so recently passed away, we invite you to just place their names in the chat at this time, so that we can honor them. Tricia, what is your fondest memory? What do you remember Molisa by? First, let's start with that.
So I remember Molly's laughter. I remember her laughter. I remember her courage. And that may be a strange word to use, but I think it is the right word to use.
So maybe to set things up a little bit, we met in the mid to late 80s in a faith-based boarding institution in Central America that brought people together, mostly from Central America, but really from all over the world. Very conservative. Norca, when you were there, were we still going on different walks to the church?
No.
So when I got there first, women went on one sidewalk to the church and men went on another sidewalk, and they sat on different opposite sides of the church. That's how conservative it was. And the reason I used the word courage with Molisa was because it seemed to me like she knew no boundaries, and she just was who she was, no matter what rules, regulations, policies, or procedures existed. And she was unapologetically herself. And that was bountiful, joyful, musical, friendly, loud, in a time when we were supposed to be demure, quiet, toned down. Not Molisa at all. I was 15 when I met her. She was one of my mom's students. I'll stop there and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're sharing this because, and I see people joined us from Panama. I see Carlos and Elvia. They're saying that Molisa will be greatly missed. They sang together, God and God alone. She formed part. Yes, it's true. She formed part of the male group. That is true. I remember they could sing. They sounded really good. The Harmoniers. So many fond memories of her. Molisa, and it's interesting because I cannot picture a time in my life when Molisa was not in it. So our dads went to school together, right? Our dads went to church together. They kind of grew up in the city of Colón, Panama. So it was kind of like natural that the kids of these two men will become friends, right? So I did not go to the same schools that they went because we traveled abroad and we lived abroad. So at one point, I remember the families reconnecting, and I think it was basically from college on, that we really started to reconnect, and she's been a part of my life ever since. I remember Molisa, as you said, for her boldness and her courage. Her loudness is typical Panamanian. We all loud.
Yes.
We all loud. I mean, we can't help ourselves. We're loud people. Country is loud. We loud. So oftentimes that is the way I know a Panamanian is in the room, because I'm like, okay, that person is a Panamanian. There's a certain loudness that we have that sometimes people translate as, oh my goodness, here they are just taking up all the space.
Nah, that's just joy. I see it as just joy.
It is Black joy. Absolutely Black joy. So loud, but also courageous. Again, I think that is another Panamanian thing. Many Black Panamanian women are just, and I've yet to find where it necessarily comes from, but I find that a lot of the women that I know tend to be like that.
Yeah.
And yes, breaking rules, that was Molisa. That was her middle name. It was hysterical. If we had to be back at 7, we were back at 9. If we were cooking our rooms and we were not supposed to cook in the room, we always had a story we always had a very good justification as to why the rules had to be broken this time for us, right? So that is definitely for sure one of the characteristics. Another thing about her, which I will not forget, is that she was unapologetically a woman, a Black woman, and also in her skill. She had a beautiful voice.
Yes, I was gonna leave that.
Yes, her dream was to go to Juilliard, and actually she came here thinking that she was going to be able to go to Juilliard, but that's a very expensive school. And she did audition actually, and they thought that her voice was fascinating, but the money that comes with that. But there was go ahead.
Why is it that we cannot support the gift? When we say Molisa had a beautiful voice, we're not saying she sounded nice in church.
No. No, this
We are
girl,
saying Molisa had a range
had
and the power and a way to sing a
Right.
song
right.
that you don't see. You
Right.
don't see. You don't see on TV. You don't see live. And that is the sort of thing where you feel like other communities band together, pool resources to make sure that that one person gets the push they need to make it. And
Right.
I've, you know,
Right.
yeah.
So if you think about a strong, powerful opera singer, that's the league that she was in.
Jessie Norman.
Yes, that's the league that she was in. So when we talk about somebody who sang, not sing, she sang, that's what we're talking about. But back to one thing that I will never forget her for. Another very key or core characteristics of Panamanians is that we love the drums. We make no excuses for the drums.
Sí, es cierto, you're right.
We love drums. We as they say, you only need 2 pans to knock in Panama, and we are we are going with it, and we have our rhythm, right? And I don't care if you're in the church or out of the church, we're not losing our rhythm. We just have that. And that is in celebration of Africa. And the more I think about it, I am glad that as a people, we embrace that. So if you go to YouTube and you look for Panamanian Parade, you're always going to see largely Black and brown communities just beating the drums and to the rhythm. So there was a drum line. I know that in Costa Rica they celebrated the 15th of September,
but also April 11th.
Right.
April 11th.
Right. And then the high school had a drum line, but the drum line was male. It
Only
was not
male.
Yeah. In Panama, you have female drummers, not as many, but you do have.
The women play the xylophone.
Right.
The women played the xylophone and did the whole baton thing.
Right. So Molisa was the first woman who joined the drum line, and she was in the main drum line, and she could beat the drum. And
that was a big drum.
She was teaching people, listen, this is how you do, this is how you get that rhythm, right? So I remember her courage for doing that. Like, she was like, I don't care, I'm a girl, I love the drums. My dad taught us to play the drum on the table. Give me the sticks, I'm in. So that I remember her very. And
do you still remember the rhythm? Do you still remember it?
I do, but I'm not gonna do it on the table. Yeah, and it was a huge sensation because when we got into the streets, people had not seen that in Costa Rica. So it was like this big thing, like, whoa, look at this woman, this Black woman beating the drums in the main line. So that was amazing. I will never forget that. But what is your fondest memory of her?
So, my fondest memory of Molisa is going to be a strange one. We sang, the chapel was in the gym. And this particular chapel, Molisa was singing the special music. And back in that day, it was the boom boxes. And we sang with soundtracks that we passed around to each other. Nobody cared really about the FBI and non-authorized copies. We would just take the cassettes, and that's how we connected, right? Whoever got the latest soundtrack would share it around the room. And this particular day, Molisa was singing He Is Alive, Evangelina version. So this is, I think, Dolly Parton wrote that song. I don't know who wrote that song, and I haven't found yet someone to sing it like Molisa sang it, but she sang it like the Evangelina version of the song. And I think it's really hard to find. But anyway, there's a part in the song when they're talking about when Jesus comes out of the grave. And that part, all the music is dimmed in the soundtrack, and all you hear is a sustaining beat like the heartbeat. So it's just marking the time. And in that version, it almost sounds like you're rapping. Now listen, this is 1980 what? 7? No, 86, 85, 86. So the gym is full. We are in the middle of chapel. Molisa has her boombox when she was called up to sing, she walks up. I can almost see her yellow blouse, white skirt, black fishnet, white heels.
I remember those.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. So then the song is going around telling the story about someone that is witnessing Jesus died, and then the song goes, and suddenly the air was filled with a faint and sweet perfume.
I remember that
Right? Bam, bam, and the orchestra comes in. And as the orchestra came in, Mrs. Steinweg walked up to the front, hit stop on Molisa's soundtrack, and stopped the music in front of everybody. And for me, I was 15 then. To see someone have the brash, to just interrupt a moment when the entire student body was experiencing that sense of suspense because something is about to happen. And that's what I mean when I say her voice. Not just the soundtrack and the words, but just her presence in it. And have Molisa be the one that generated that. So that is my fondest memory of her. You remember that?
No, I wasn't there then.
Listen.
I wasn't there then.
I can't forget that.
I wasn't there in that year. I heard the stories of that. I remember hearing the stories of that. And I was not there. I was not there.
What's yours?
Listen, there's so many.
I know. I knew that was what you were gonna say.
Yeah, there are a lot. There are a lot.
Pick one.
Listen, there, and again, like good friends, we fought.
Yes.
we yelled when we had to yell. We rebuked each other, but the love was always there, right?
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. The love was always there. I think for me, Molisa was a very voluptuous Black woman, right? And this was a woman who carried her body well.
Yes.
And knew how to dress to scale to her body.
Yes, she did.
Which I think lacks sometimes, right?
Listen, and back in those days and in the environment we grew up in, that is a rare thing to find.
It was. It's still a rare thing today sometimes.
Yes,
honestly.
but it's that idea that the more thin you are and the less curves you are,
right,
the better you are as a woman. And it's almost linked to morality.
It is.
Right?
It is. And I remember that some people like, oh, she, whatever, people had stuff to say about her voluptuousness. And she was like, nah, listen, it is what it is. I got what I got.
Yep.
Deal with it, people. This is what it is. And never shy down, back down, try to do whatever. It was, it was her package. And she was proud of her package. And I think that for me stood out all the time, that when she entered the room, she entered with her full self. She was not trying to make herself small. She was not trying to make herself thin, white.
Never, ever.
Yeah, she was who she was. She was okay with her package. And I think that was such an important message. And when she was teaching her students, love her. And when she was working here in New York as a social worker, people loved her because she had a way of pulling people towards her. I want us to end with, condolences to the family. We'll come back and talk about community care at the end of the show, about how we move forward. And we have Danielle and Jessica who are going to talk about a beautiful part about how do we memorialize those people who have passed. And yes, we want to extend our condolences to her brother Aldino, her sisters Gina and Tanisha, her parents, Dr. John and Minerva Parchment. It's a great loss, not only for them, but for all of us who knew her and for all the people who over time met her and were mystified by her. Tricia, I'm going to let you share now, and then I'm going to end with something that she sent to us because she was a follower of the show, a fan of the show, and will always try to encourage us. So, Tricia, go ahead.
So, with all that big voice, out of this world voice she had, you saw before she sang in the Harmoniers. The way I came in more contact with you guys was with Living Sacrifice. And the reason I bring it up is she was out of professional singers league. You can imagine our league, right? We were just amateurs isn't even the word. We just love to sing.
Right.
And when we were singing in the group, it never seemed like we were singing backup or that we were like there to make her shine. So all of these things you see about Black groups singing and somebody always wanting to take the limelight and the other one's fighting for the limelight, she had it. She didn't need to take it. It was hers. She could stand in a room of 1,000 people with all the lights turned off and no microphone, and you still would identify and hear her. And yet when we were singing together, it was one voice.
Right.
There was never that sense. She never gave me the sense, I was the youngest one there, of your second fiddle. Very generous in spirit. And I think that as I remember when we reconnected a year ago maybe, and started remembering, I reminded her of things that she didn't even knew I knew, like who she liked. And the reason I knew is I looked up to her. And I believe that when we remember her, there are so many people in our lives that are so generous in spirit and kind. And the more I live, that is the value and the trait that I treasure the most of people. And that is what I'll remember about her.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you are right. When she sang with us, even though our voices were not a quarter
anywhere near,
to where she was, it was never, you guys are my backup. It was always, we sang as one voice. Absolutely. That's a powerful message. I want to say to her son, Braxton, your mother leaves a strong legacy. And sometimes when we think about that, we think, oh, people who wrote books, who were in the government, who are, no, on platforms, no. Legacies are those things that people left behind. As you can hear, she left a lot with Tricia, she left a lot with me, and I know that she left a lot with many other people. I want to share what she said to us last March when she joined one of the shows. She texted and she said, so proud of you guys. You were awesome. Keep up the good work. You are indeed changing the world. And that really touched me. Women need to take their rightful places. Your show just cemented my calling. Thank you. And we want to say to her, even in her absence, thank you, Molisa, for the legacy that you left in us. And to Braxton, we say, your mother left a good legacy. Walking it with pride. She did the best that she could with what she had, and she took it to heights even more than people expected to. So someone is saying here that she's beautiful. Yes, she was a beautiful woman who used her full package, loved herself as she was, and we did too. We are going to remove ourselves for a minute. We'll come back later on in the show. This is a lot for us. Tricia and I are really grieving, but we did not want to reschedule the show again. So we'll come back at the end, and at the end we'll close off with some thoughts about Molisa. But right now we're going to go into a discussion, not a discussion. We're going to have the For Real Women teams that you hear about all the time that they're doing, and we're showing you the photos. Well, we're bringing them in to talk. So we're going to leave you in the hands of Teresa and Shonda. Hi, Teresa and Shonda. Thank you for your patience. We're going to leave them in your hands, and we're going to talk about Break the Bias, but we're starting with the Curazao team. I see one person there. I'm not sure if she's ready, but I know that Mexico is ready. Maybe we should just go to Mexico.
Agreed.
Yeah, so we'll fade out, and we'll bring the ladies from Mexico in. Shonda and Teresa, take it away.
Hi everyone. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Shonda. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. If I can just say, I want to say, I remember Molisa, Norca, and Trisha. Thank you so much for sharing that. When I heard her sing, and yes, she did remind you of someone with the likes of a Jesse Norman. And so, Braxton, thank you for sharing your mother with the world. And thank you, Molisa, for leaving your African and Panamanian roots on the world. The world knows the Mona Lisa, but now we know Molisa. And we thank you because in all that we heard, it could not be more fitting than in this Women's Her Story Month that you definitely was breaking the bias. So thank you.
And I want to
Right.
thank Morta and Lucia for doing this because I know it's not easy having to express, their pain in this process and their grieving. But I never, I don't have those memories of Lisa, but just to hear you speak about her is inspiring, and I pray that we'll have more women like Lisa in our lives. So thank you for sharing.
Yes. Teresa, and we're just having a hard time. At least I am hearing you just a little bit. I don't know if the volume can increase. But here we are in this section as time moves on while Teresa's adjusting. And welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, hi.
This is a fun and exciting section where since this is her story month and For Real Women has a signature event that is called a Day of Change, For Real Women International Day of Change. And here we have the opportunity for all of our teams throughout the world, because we're spread throughout the world, to become the change agents that they are. And on this event, we have three teams that are joining us, as you heard. There's Curacao, there's Mexico, and the Queens Long Island group. And so at this time, we're going to start with this first group. Teresa, would you like me to start, or would you like to? You want?
I can start. Thank you. And
Okay.
I want to say hello to the Peru Women Mexico chapter. I don't have the pleasure of having met any of you, but I'm excited because all my family is from all my family. My mother and father are from Mexico, and so lots of love and lots of ties with this beautiful country and even more beautiful people. So we would like to ask you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your event, and tell us what activities took place.
Vane, you can introduce.
I knew you
I'll
were going
say
to
at
do
the end.
that. Hi, I'm Vanessa Etienne. I'm a physician here in Mexico. And what else? That's basically it. And my friend is January Cameron. She's also a physician.
That's
We're
right.
trying to bring in the change in this part of the world with For Real Women.
Excellent. Please share with us a little bit about your event.
Yeah. Well, we had an event on the 5th of March. Yes. We decided like we're a really small group. Our chapter is a small group. And most of us go to this Adventist young people church called Vertice. And we decided to join a little bit because our target wanted to be impacting most of the people that are around us. And we went to this open place called La Quinta Gran Sabino, because the Sabinos were these big trees. So we made this event. You can't see it on the pictures, but they have this place coming down with a pool and a big tree. I'm making a little more ponchos with this for me to explain better the activities we had. So we had this event. It was around 24 of us. One of the girls got sick, so she couldn't go. It was supposed to be 25. And we started having different activities. Our goal, as how Vanessa was explaining, is to reach out and empower these girls, right? And empower ourselves in the process towards the different things that our profile as women needed to be a little bit more strengthened on. So the first part we had a mimosas
welcoming cocktail, you may say, or a meet and greet with some mimosas. And we had 3 tables, and everybody just sit there and start talking. We had our first activity with some rocks. We had to write our fears on the rocks, right? So we were writing our fears and put them in the middle part of the table, and we put some chocolates, some Hershey's chocolates, and everybody's like, "Can I eat them now?" And we were like, "No, wait," because we put it around it because it represented how hi, thank you. This is cheers to Mexico. We had all of our fears and all of the things. It took a while for us to break that part in our minds towards what I'm afraid of. And I remember I took my son and I'm like, I think I can write here, 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 and everywhere, right? Because as women, and mostly, well, I think all around the world, we find ourselves with fear of everything in the different environments we are in. And sometimes, and more with this pandemic and closure, we are not being exposed, or we have been exposed in a bad way, not in a good way. I'm staying a little bit on this intro part because the activity impacted mostly on this part. And it was actually the first part, because we all open up and felt like the lady I see every time that I know is my friend is somebody that has my same fears, right? So we shared and felt the support around it. And then we were able to eat the chocolates. Of course, the chocolates was the part of the treat, of the nice, of the beautiful thing that we can have, even though we just leave our fears there. We compare it as God. It's like God is this sweet gift that we have that's going to help you with the stones. Now you'll say, what happened to the stones after that? Because we just ate the chocolate. We had a rally. So we divided ourselves into groups. That's why you see some pictures separated that way. And we divided into groups. And then we had part of the rally was to take one of the stones, and we had an empty yard over this other side of the place we were. And you have to throw it as far as you can. But then again, we can't see because we have this big wall. And it was so great to see how the girls just pick it up, and you got to pick up the fair. And let's say it was a fair that I wrote, and it says failure, I'm fear of failure. And said, well, for Jen, I'm throwing failure off. And every time they throw the stones, they had to say the fear that they had in their hands and throw it away. And that was the first part of the rally, and I felt that builds up the engine and the adrenaline of it, because they had to make a tower with different glasses, and then they had this bucket of water, and they had to take out the mandarins out of it, all the tangerines, and they're getting all their nice makeup getting wet up and everything, and they're like, hurry up. And then they had another station where they had to make a puzzle, but we didn't have time to make much of the puzzle. So it was this paper that we print out and we just cut, so it's not like squares or not. So they were like, wait, this part goes in which part? And all the team was helping them build up the puzzle that had obviously a positive message on it. And then they had to make I'm not sure what this is called in English, un carretillo, so there are two girls. Tell me.
A wheelbarrow.
We made a wheelbarrow. And they had to go and make the wheelbarrow. The other one take up some balloons and wrap them up in their feet. And the contrary team had to make this tunnel where the girl had to go past through without all the balloons being puffed off from the other team. And it was so exciting. The girls got a lot of adrenaline out of all of that. And then we had section of the topics, and I feel the topics were really point towards the people we were talking with. We had the pastor Idiani there with us, and she was talking about the breaking the bias in the religious part, like in church. And we had Adriana Perez, that has a major in contents. She has had so much transcendent in all the cultural part here, at least in Monterrey, and she talked to us about statistics now. You know, you can be touched by, oh yes, I'm a woman and I should be doing this, and how bad the world has gotten towards it. But I liked it because she brought numbers, you know. So if you were a number person, she brought statistics. Okay, how many women are here in Monterrey, and is this amount, and how many of them are working, and how much of those that are working are actually bringing money to the state, not to their house, not to but to the state, how the state looks at it, you know, because it's not the same of this woman that's trying to be in a nursery home, and maybe she's underpaid, because all women are underpaid here, and towards this other one that had a major in law school, and now she's trying to go to the judges, right? And those kind of numbers you were showing, and she focused on the house, you know, the kind of partnership that needs to be in a house that has a husband and a wife and children, not just, well, you know what, that's all on the woman.
Sorry. And what was one of the most important things that she shared with you, Ms. Perez? What was it, like, of all those numbers, which one stands out more to you?
No. The one that stands just a little bit.
This is our new world.
There you go. Sorry. A little commotion here in the house. So what stands out the most to me is take the decision to go forward, you know, because I know a lot of people, at least I'm a physician, and I was able to be in touch with people from all kinds of races, all kinds of social, economical inputs. And I feel that sometimes we, as a woman, we actually put those walls, you know. And I think that's what she wanted us to work more on, you know, that this are the numbers, and that a lot of women here that are not far more past from high school. You got women that are not going to the university, and those that are on the university, they don't want to make majors, or those that actually study for something, just don't work, stays home. And it's not bad to stay home, but why not go forward? You know, I think that's what outstanded the most, is like, you can be all what you can be. Don't put walls on yourself, because people are anywhere putting walls onto you. So if you're putting more stops and more walls and more things that are not letting you go forward, it will be more hard for you.
Thank you. And could you just make that connection for us on how the event aligned with the United Nations International Women's Theme, which is breaking bias? Can you just kind of make that connection for us and tell us how your event reflected this theme?
We gave the last part of the activities. We made this stop, right? And we tried to engage from the girls how to take care of their and themselves and everything. And at the end, we gave them one of this. And they had this. I don't know if my audio is good. Let me know. I keep hearing myself back.
Vanessa, can you help out? Because we are having trouble.
Yeah, you. It's like
coming in and out.
Some echo or something like that. The breaking bias part basically is look at yourself. We are beautiful. We are worth it. It doesn't matter whatever somebody else thinks about us. And the theme was actually reinventing yourself, right? If I'm I'll take my example. I'm a physician, but I'm more than a physician, okay? I am a woman, but most of the times we're like, oh yeah, I'm a woman, but I can be much more than that. And I can reach many more people than just, oh, because I'm a woman, so I cannot do this, I cannot do that. We have to break those barriers, those walls, like Jen said, and actually just not break them, just go over the walls and take our place where we are. That's basically it.
Thank you. And I know that most of your, well, from what I could tell from the pictures, your the majority of the women that were part of this event, you had younger women, like, you know, in their like 20s, 30s, I can imagine, just from looking at the picture. So do you feel that these women are still at this, you know, because they're considered, you know, younger generations, do you still think that they need to be reminded that, you know, that they have, you know, the potential, that they can actually, you know, dream and make it happen? Because that's what I'm kind of hearing from you as you were, you know, you were sharing. Do you think that that's still a message that needs to be driven?
Yes, more than ever, it's a very important message, because when we look at the world, what we see is, I think I have the same premise, Jen, right now. What we see is what we've grown up in. And I don't have kids, right? But what I teach to the children are next to me, who I live with, is what I've learned. So, and it's not just one generation of learning process, it's many generations that we have building on us that we're teaching to the younger generations. And so it's something we need to break. It's a cycle we need to break. And so it's important that, I'm in my 40s, and there are a lot of things that I know now that I've been taught that are not necessarily right, let's say it like that way, but they're in their 20s. So if they learn it right now, so they have much more years to enjoy being a woman, and not having, oh, because I'm a woman, I cannot do this, because I'm a woman, I have to do this. So the earlier we can teach the younger generations to break the cycle, the best.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Janori and Vanessa. Thank you for sharing with us what For a Woman Monterrey is doing, and we're looking forward to not only seeing, you know, the next events, but also seeing you grow. I'm excited. You know, I have some friends in Monterrey, Nuevo León, so I'm definitely going to let them know that, you know, you guys are active, and hopefully they can connect with you and get started with, you know, even more activities and supporting more women. So thank you so much for your work. We appreciate it.
Teresa, before they go, I understand one of the Pink Room's very own, Dr. Tricia Pennycook, also mentored both of you.
I think she mentored more generally than I did, because by the time she reached Montemorelos, I was already going out. But she did mentor me when I was finishing med school. And I think in the hallways, at one point I had a question and she did help. Yeah. So yeah, she did.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, she did mentor. Wow. Well, all the Petticoat family I know from Costa Rica too, because I'm from Costa Rica, even though we're here in Monterrey, and we studied in Montemorelos. But Dr. Trish is somebody I always look up to. Is like the girl that everybody knows, and that she stands out, and that, you know, that she will say her mind in a really political and polite way, and she will make sure that you're okay. You know?
Another woman breaking bias.
Yes.
Thank you both, Dr. Jenroy and Dr. Vanessa.
Thank you.
And now we have another group joining us from Queens, Long Island. And at this time, I'm going to ask Vita to please introduce yourself and give us a little bit about what your event entailed.
Hi everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to share about our work at in Queens, Long Island. So my name is Tanya Bloomfield. I am the chairperson for the Queens, Long Island team. Can everybody hear me?
There's a little feedback.
It's a little bit.
Hi, Tanya.
So yes, hi. So our program, this is the fourth year that we have hosted our celebrating generational legacies, bridging generational gaps, and breaking generational cycles program. So this year we decided to take literally the mission of For Real Women International, which is to touch one woman, you touch her life and you touch the life of her family. So we wanted to put into action the touching the life of her family part. So we decided that oftentimes in our families, we forget about our own accomplishments and we forget about the fact that we are products of our generations. Okay, so we just wanted to celebrate the accomplishments of people who have gone before us and people who have impacted our lives. And we call them our unsung heroes. And we decided to write ode poems to our unsung heroes. And we also had a guest speaker. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about the program. So what happened with our program? We designed the program. We decided to be creative. And we designed the program as if it was a Sunday afternoon dinner. So it's a tradition for people of color to like gather together Sunday evening and to have dinner. So our program was designed as a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening meal. So first we had our appetizer. And in our appetizer, we tell our names and we just give a little bit about our backgrounds. We use like a sentence starter, like I am Tanya Bloomfield from the strong roots of Jamaica, with the strong woman of Thompson's who have accomplished so and so. So we gave participants a chance to just declare their origins and to just affirm themselves and to recognize that they originated from somewhere and from people who have sacrificed a lot so that they could be where they are today. Then we had our main course. So our main course was one of our members, Arlene Kendall, who kind of modeled how to do the ode poem. She used an ode from a famous poet, and she also wrote one herself. And she showed how we celebrate people's accomplishments, we celebrate their sacrifices, and we celebrate what they've done for us. And we went into the breakout rooms and led each of the team members were in charge of a breakout room, and we helped them to unpack the model and to create, not fully but at least to begin, their own old poems. And you will see a display there. They displayed lines of their old poems on a Jamboard, so that when we returned from the breakout rooms, we could share what was done in each breakout room. Then we had, after the main course, we had our beverages, and we toasted, give women a chance to toast women who have impacted their lives. And then we had our entree. So the entree was a special guest speaker. Her name is Nisha Daniels, and she's a law student at the City College of New York. But what was remarkable about this woman, and what was remarkable about her and the Breaking the Bias, was how she broke the glass ceiling to just create opportunities for minority to access certain programs that would have deliberately or unintentionally excluded minorities. Okay.
So,
I'm just waiting for more questions. Shonda?
so here, yes, the next question is then, Tanya, can you tell us how many women attended this event? Do you remember offhand?
Yes, we had 27 women,
Wow.
and everyone was actively involved. Everyone was awed by the fact that they never thought about actually, actually celebrating in this way, and thought about women who have impacted their lives, and how sometimes we don't have to buy them like a big gift, or sometimes we wait for people to die to celebrate what they have done, but they could actually begin now to celebrate them through poetry, and actually give this to the women who have impacted their lives. And let me just backtrack a little bit to just to show you what we have accomplished with this program. I told you that this is our 4th year. Last year, our 3rd year, what we did was letters to my mother. And one of my colleagues actually attended last year. And this year, when I told her about the program, she was like, I really need to go on, because every Mother's Day, when I listened, when I attended your event and listened to those women just writing the poem, the letters that time, the letters to their mothers, telling them how they appreciate what they have done for them, how they have groomed their lives, and how what they have done to them, how they plan to pass this on to the next generation. I have been doing this in my family. We did it last year, and we're preparing to do it again Mother's Day this year, because our program is a generational one where we had grandmothers, mothers, and daughters. And this is how we celebrate the legacies of the generations. And I wanted to say that for our program took place last Sunday. We also had our dessert time. So our dessert time was a takeaway where we created another Jamboard in which women were able to express their hopes and their dreams based upon the presentation, and based upon what they have learned and what they plan to do.
Thank you, Tanya. And so the last question we're going to ask you, and thank you so much for sharing this event, which has been generational. The
Yes.
world has been watching us each year. Queens Long Island's Day of Change has been a generational event. But I'd like for you to share with us how this event has been in alignment with the 2022 United Nations International Women's Theme, Break the Bias.
Yes. So our program, we put there too #break the bias, because one of the things that we notice is that sometimes as women we are not celebrated. So that's why we talked about unsung heroes and not just unsung heroes, because at times we don't get the accolades, the recognition that we deserve, and sometimes we do so much that some of what we do is not recognized by the entire world, but it is in fact impactful. And that's why we got our young, she's a college student, and she represents #break the bias, because the merit programs that the colleges offered are usually biased. They're biased not only to women of color, mostly women of color, but also to men. But they are biased in and skewed in the direction of just providing the opportunity for only the privileged to gain access to these programs. So Nisha Daniels outlined how she decided to create a club which would counter what was happening in those some of those merit programs. And by creating her club, what she was doing was jeopardizing her chance of actually being accepted in this program. But she saw because she was applying to the program, she got firsthand knowledge of what was actually happening, and she saw the biases, and she decided that she has to do something. So her director was very upset with her for trying to create this club, and the director told her that this program existed for years and that it had run without problems for years. And that's why we keep doing our programs, because sometimes we don't realize how things that have existed for so long, the injustice and the biases that exist. So Nisha was a trailblazer. She was a champion. She broke that bias. However, this was the assistant director. So the director applauded her and supported her in doing this. And through her program, she's paving the way and opening the way for access to young women of color. And she's actually a law student. So more young women of color will have the opportunity to have their dreams funded, and to even get into programs where they will get internship and mentorship. So some of these programs, they excluded mentorship for women of color. They excluded internship for women of color, and they also excluded scholarships for women of color. But the work that Nisha has done in her school is one of the ways that she's breaking the biases.
Tanya,
Okay.
thank you so much. Queens, Long Island, wonderful. I did have the opportunity to view some of this young lady who is a law student, and I actually commented and I said, "Look, Katanji Brown Jackson needs you on your
Neither.
team."
Yes.
And so, just to see how courageous she was in
Mm,
recognizing the biases that had happened, and yes, she was challenged. She almost lost her opportunity.
yeah.
But thank you, Tanya, for having her, and thank you for sharing with us how that did definitely play into the theme of breaking the bias. So thank you, Queens on Island. Thank you,
Mhm.
Tanya.
Yes. You're very
Thank
welcome.
you. Yes. Our next group, be for
Vivian
real,
Bean.
from Curazao and Dutch Caribbean. So we are
Welcome.
welcome to Madeline, who's going to be sharing with us about, well, first of all, introduce yourself, Madeline, and share about your event, what activities were there, how many women were present, etc.
Yes, hi. Yes, we had our day of change, and we choose this time to go to the women that when they go out of home, they don't know exactly how the day will be. So they don't have like an easy job. And we went to the doctor office by the nurses. We went to the daughter. The daughter was also a woman. And we went to a school with the high risk youth. We went also to the elders home where the nurses had there with the old parents that stay there. And also we went to you see a home where the women are that there's addiction problems and also problems with their husband, and they're like a shelter. And also we went to activity for the seniors, and there we look for the volunteers. All of them we give the the nurses, the volunteers, the home housekeeping, and all those. And we had three activities, but by each of them, we had a poem that's telling what a woman, and we had also meditation that say what the woman will be in 2022, and that we don't have to call the women as a mom or as a lady that offer, but this time in 2022 that we call the woman like the sea. So I have sent it for Norca, but I don't know if Norca is there to translate some of it, but it was
Sure, we can
forward.
have someone translate for you.
Yes, Norca is there to translate.
Yes, we
I
can have
sent it.
someone.
I sent it on her phone.
Hi. So Madeline, you sent me on the phone the poem?
Yes.
The poem,
Yes.
Okay, I think Vivian is there. Let her share screen with you. Hi, Vivian.
Hi.
Ladies, this is a long poem.
No, but just took the middle one. When it take about sea, when it starts speaking about sea, that woman is like sea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, today we present ourselves as the sea. The wind blows. The wind may blow, but we remain the sea. People may take away from us, but we don't. There's no end to our being. They can throw things on us, but we are always remaining calm as the sea. Things may ride or on top of us, but we are never going to be below. We remain as the sea. We may seem like a simple. We may seem as simply water that is going by, but we can out the force of the sea can beat and break rocks. Nevertheless, we remain the sea. We are an important remedy that can help to cure many diseases, and we remain the sea. All type of people live inside of us, all type of animals live inside of us, but we remain the sea. You may ask, what do I want to say to you with this? What do I want to say to women with this? I want to share with you that we are never empty as women. People can make our life difficult. The wind can blow against us, but our character is strong and we will remain standing. Like women, we can stand together and we can remain smiling. No one can give us the value that we are more than ourselves. The sea remains one of God's greatest creation, and we are also. That is why today we want to say to you what it means for you to be a woman and why we celebrate March 8th. We say to you, woman, you are creation, you're a unique creation of God, and we want to celebrate you today. Like a waterfall, you continue to provide for this world.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, that was one of them. And also that was one with our keychains that we has give them for gift. The one was saying, woman, the success is in your hands, and women, you can make the difference. and woman, you are stronger that you believe or that you think. That was the key change that we have give them for forgive with a rose.
Wow.
And
What was the
Shudeli had a song that touched every woman that was saying, woman, you have your value. But Shudeli is on a track now for that she cannot sing it for you. But all where we pass, it was an emotionally song.
wow,
So
Wow.
yes. But she can.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And what
Tell us, like, what was the feedback that you got from the women and that participated? You had different activities, so that was a lot of work. So, what were they saying once they were having these experiences?
The woman where we went,
Yes. Uh-huh.
all of them ask us to come back, that the door is open for us to empower them. Yes, because at the start, I also told them that we are from Real Women International Dutch Caribbean, and what's the what we stand for. So everyone, and also the house of the elders there, the old parents there, the director us told us to please pass back, because he could see gladness in the face of his employers. So everyone, and the most beautiful pictures that we have, we cannot share them, because it was from the house that is like a shelter, and the pictures cannot go on. But there, that was beautiful. They don't want us to leave from there. And there also the employee that was working at that time say that in the passing of the history of the day, she is going to put that they have to schedule us again, because the people was so fun to see us, and they don't want us to leave. So it was
Wow.
a great experience for us over here.
and
Yes.
Wow.
and what
And
and what
happy
Madeline told.
to see that's the impact that you are having in your community, and really living out what For Real Women is all about. And I want to just mention something that I shared with some people not too long ago, and it just reminded me of what you're doing right now, and also what the Queens group was doing when they're doing these poems, uh, for women, just in general, right? I think a lot of people that even though women do have the capacity to be mothers, not every woman is a mother, and not every woman makes that choice or has that opportunity, whatever the case might be. But we're still women, and we still want to be recognized our value in society. And with all of these poems, I mean, this poetry is just so inspiring to be a woman. And so I want to thank you, because I think that this is why we do this, to remind women that they're valuable, just because you're a woman. Nothing else. You don't have to be a mother, or you don't have to be in the armed forces. You don't have to do just because you're a woman. So thank you so much, Madeline and
Yes.
Vivian, all your hard work and your leadership. We're inspired. Thank you so much.
I think Vivian wanted to say
Well, to
something.
say
Vivian,
yes,
please
Yes,
do.
because what Madeline told is part of the story. It's half of the story. Because what we did this year, last year, it was most of the time me and Madeline having the programs with some 2 or 3 ladies. But this year we got about between 12 and 15 members. And what we did, we divide Curacao and Banda River and Banda Bow, so we can reach more women this year. And what Madeline told was the part what Banda Bow did.
Yes.
And I
Wow.
was the leader from the Banda River Church. And what we did, we made cookies, and we went. Our main point this year was to
honor ladies that are not in picture of are doing jobs that are not so easy. That was our main point this year. So the Banda River group went to different places where they have elderly people. We went to some houses where women are, some old women of sick women, and we also went to a church where we shared with them what for the women stand for, and we made a bookmark. And on the bookmark, we write the story of for women international, and at the end, we put two numbers, Madeline and my phone number, so they can contact us. We ask them if they want to be part of us, or if they need our help. So that's what we did in the Banda Riba team. So now in Curazao, we have two teams, so we can reach more people.
Yes, and
Incredible.
yes, and yes, and after one of our activities, one of our new members, it was a youth from about 21 years, and she went in the store with a uniform on, and the cashier asked her, "What's mean for real women?" And she told her that for what we stand, and she told the girl, "Yes, but I'm passing about abuse in my marriage, in my relationship, and what I have to do." So because she was new, she didn't know how to, but I told her that she has to go back, and she said also there was more people standing to pay after her, but now she has to go back to take the phone number so we can get in contact. So by seeing the name, she asked what that's meaning for real women.
And on the 24th of April, we will have an intern workshop where we will look for somebody in the community to teach us how to deal with difficult situation, and not to make that situation part of us. Because some of our members have that difficulty that they see difficult situation, and that thing will go on in their minds for days.
Yes.
So we were the 24th, we will organize a workshop especially for that topic.
Excellent.
Excellent,
Excellent. Thank
Curazao.
you so much. Wow. Oh my goodness. I think we like need a special show, Pink Room for just for you guys, huh? So much going on. And we not only applaud you, but we, we're excited for you, and we, wish you even more success in everything that you do. And we're because it's everybody's success. So thank you so much, Madeline and Vivian. And it's good to see you again.
Yes, you too. Missing you.
I think, ladies, before you go, if you can just tell us the theme for this year, 2022 for the United Nations International Women's Day is a bias. Can you allude a little bit on how the events you all did touched on that theme, breaking the bias?
We cannot hear you properly.
And Shauna, you have to explain that word for us.
Okay, so when the theme that the United Nations had for this Day of Change was that the way that we think about something change, right? It's called breaking the bias, right? Breaking that that prejudgment, that prejudice that we have against something, right? So in your view, how do you connect that theme to the activities that you partook in, for this Day of Change? How do you connect those two? That idea that we're breaking the bias is just how we normally see things, and being open to seeing things differently.
For example, the most places where we went, there are women working that they do a great job, but it's not so recognized in the community. So it's for most of the people, it's not an important work. And that's why we choose this kind of women to honor them on the 8th of March. So they can feel that somebody, organization can recognize the work they do because they are working with people, and most of the time most of the people not even know they are working there. For example, in the shelter, it's like a private place. Nobody can know that you are working there because they can follow you. So for us, it was important to make sure that that kind of women can be recognized during the International Day of Women.
And also they could feel the touch when Shudeli was singing her song, that hi, I have value, I am important, so I have to glow, I have to come out for myself. Yes, the song of Shudeli was beautiful. But yes, I think that in next pink room she will sing a piece for you in English, so you could.
Wow.
Yes, because I have
Well, thank you so much, and thank you. And yes, that the idea that there are so many women who we do not recognize in their work and in their importance in society. We need to break that bias. So thank you so much. Thank you, Madeline and Vivian, and we look forward to hearing more about everything that you're doing in the Dutch Caribbean region. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And you see, by and Bandaball team, we have reached one by one. We have reached 119 women. And at the school, at the school there was 70 children, but we don't count them. And also by the activity there was 10 men, but we don't count them. We count just the women that we share one by one with. It was 119 that day. So it was the whole. We started 9 o'clock in the morning, and we have finished at 4:20 in the afternoon.
That is the Bandaball
That
team.
is our team, the Bandaball.
The Banda Riba team reached 141 women.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. And it will keep growing as, more women see the love and the care that they can experience by connecting with For Real Women International. And we're so excited, looking forward to it.
Thank you, ladies.
Sure. Yes. Thank you to you all to teach us and to bring us in contact with For You.
So now at this time, we're going to move into our next section.
Wow. Listen, I am just amazed. 119. This is like uptown, downtown. 119 downtown and 141 uptown. Like, can you imagine the impact that these women are having in their community there in Curazao? That is just amazing work.
Yes.
Can't find words for it. It's just amazing work. Thank you, Teresa and Sean. You did a fantastic job in leading us out in those interviews. We want to add Jessica and Danielle Alejandro. Welcome to the Pink Room. Welcome to the Pink Room. Jessica and Danielle are sisters, and they are our guests for today. And they're going to share with us about the New York Yellow Heart Memorial. So first, let's have them share a little bit about themselves. So Jessica and Danielle, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Hi.
Hello.
So thank you so much for having us. I'm Jessica.
I'm Danielle.
And we're both sisters. We're also Queens College students. I'm a graduate student.
I'm undergrad right now.
And we are the New York City team leads for Yellow Heart Memorial. So Yellow Heart Memorial is a community that was actually created by Rosie Davis from Texas. She lost her mother to COVID-19 in a nursing home in Irving, Texas, in May 17th of 2020. And after losing her mother, she really wanted to turn her grief into advocacy and change. So Yellow Heart Memorial currently has 12 chapters across the nation, one international in Poland, and we're trying to have one in South Africa and Canada as well. So we memorialize loved ones who are lost to COVID. I have an example of one. The yellow heart is the international symbol for COVID loss. So what we do for our memorials across the nation and the world, we write loved ones' names on a yellow heart along with their date of passing, and we post it wherever the memorial is. And then, we have a ceremony and so on and so forth. So
yes, so this is our papa. We lost our papa March 8th of 2021. And that is how we ended up finding Yellow Heart Memorial, because losing someone to COVID is unlike any other death and experience. And we needed to find people that understood what we were going through and what this loss felt like. And Yellow Heart Memorial has helped us in so many ways.
So Jessica and Danielle and, the Pink Room hostesses can jump in here. First of all, let's start by talking about Papa. What did he mean to you, and what was his legacy in your life?
Oh my God. Sorry. Well, our papa was.
It's okay.
Sorry. Our papa was our best friend growing up. So our papa was there for everything for us. We went on vacations with him. He took us to our first Beyonce concert. He was a cool papa. And, jet skiing, parasailing, he was a very adventurous and fun, loving person. So he was just someone that his loss took us by surprise. Definitely did.
Yeah, we actually, we tried to keep a distance from him through the pandemic because we wanted to make sure, God forbid, we contracted the virus. We didn't give it to him. And then unfortunately, he did contract it. He was sick for 3 weeks. So, losing him was definitely hard. And, we were trying to look for some outlet, something to help us with our grief. So many people have lost, their grandparents, their grandpa like we did, and, mothers and siblings. And, unfortunately, when we lost him, we were in the middle of our semester in college. And, the college community didn't really have any specific services related to COVID. So while we were blessed, we were able to get support from our counseling center. It was very difficult to find somebody who really understood the magnitude of our grief and confusion and trying to navigate this new normal.
So we made sure on our campus, we created that space for students who either experience the COVID loss or, sadly, they may experience a COVID loss. So we created a support group on campus where we meet every Wednesday and we speak to students who is a long-term COVID long hauler or they lost someone to COVID. So we created that space for our campus.
Yeah. So we're actually the two youngest leads for Yellow Heart. So we're really trying to make sure that, we're targeting the younger generation like ourselves. And we're also educators. Danny's currently student teaching and I'm a teacher. And, a lot of students lost parents, either one or both, or even siblings. And unfortunately, there aren't mental health programs as it is. I mean, Norca and I have had this discussion before about the lack of mental health services, not only in our state, but also within the college community. And, our babies are also affected as well. So my sister and I actually are hosting the first ever Yellow Heart Memorial at our college, Queens College. We're the second college to do it in the nation, but we're the first in New York City and New York State. So, everything we do is for our papa and for everyone else's loved ones to make sure that,
they're honored.
Yeah, that they're honored.
Wow. Listen, this is amazing work that you have taken your pain and elevated to levels of feeling need. So let's just sit a little bit in the in the reality of the lack of mental health help that exists not only in college communities but in general communities, and the lack of understanding as to why we need mental wellness during this time. So I don't know, Sean, Patricia, let's sit in this with Danielle and Jessica about the need for getting mental health resources and just getting mental health as a people.
I don't think that we totally understand the impact of this pandemic in general. So, when the decision was made that economy was more important than life, the reason that was given was some people have lived their lives and it's important for others to be able to make a living. For those of us who didn't agree with that standpoint in general, there's really nothing else to say. But for those who initially thought of that as something viable, did not take into account the grief and that the loss of our loved ones is something that will continue to stay with those who remain for a long time, not just because they died, but because of how everything happened, how it seemed like their lives didn't matter, that decisions were made that allowed this to happen. So that's a totally different kind of loss than the loss of someone that you love but is sick and you're able to adjust and think about and say goodbye. The loss of someone who dies when we're able to visit and be in the room when they pass away. There's a just like Jessica and Danielle say, the only person who truly understands what losing someone during COVID means are those that have gone through it. So even professionals in the field, unless they've gone through it, do not understand what this means. It's a betrayal. It's not just the loss, but it's a betrayal of trust in the leaders who should have been taking care. So if we do not even think about how to serve financially, economically, and in education, forget mental health. And the impact of mental health goes way beyond what we can even see. Because a person can continue to teach little ones, to be a student teacher, to be in graduate school, to participate in and lead out in services that serve others, and still there are times in the day, at night, in the week where you have to face the loss again and again and again and again. And that is where mental health support is necessary, because if not, you enter into a cycle that doesn't seem to end. And that is where you see people that all of a sudden something happens and you say, but I saw them yesterday and they were fine yesterday, because you can't see mental health deterioration visibly unless the person you're very close to them or they choose to be vulnerable with you. It's not like you broke your leg or you have a sprain or your tooth hurts, where people can see that there's something and then they can sympathize and open the door for you and hold out a chair and say, no, you need to take a break, you look tired. None of that happens unless the person who's suffering decides that they want to share that with you. So to not have standardized systemic opportunities and access to mental health support, so that people that are going through it sometimes even recognize that they're going through it themselves. You know how it is, where you don't know something is happening with you until you see a list that says, if you have 3 out of these 10, then that. So if you're not even letting people know, if you're suffering from this, whatever it is, lack of sleep, you're not able to focus, whatever, then people don't even recognize that there's a problem that they need to seek help for. So all the different facets of mental health support, from the prevention to the recognition, to the access, to the management, to the continued support, if we don't have that, And we won't know till who knows how many years in the future the impact of COVID in our humanity, because there are babies who are born during the pandemic that, for example, feel like a face mask is a natural part of a wardrobe. They don't know any different. And what does that mean to face recognition, to even smiling? We don't know the impact that it will have. So the lack of the mental health support is probably the least seen, least supported aspect of what this pandemic is doing to humanity. And I'm sorry I was long, but I don't think we talk about this enough.
Valuable. I think too, Dr. T, and thank you for compiling all of that, because it's true, we don't talk about it. You haven't heard it, at least in my view, as detailed as you have. And for Jessica and Danielle, sitting in this piece in terms of how key mental health is, since the pandemic is still up and running, it is not over. The mental health piece was truly the most absent element of support.
Right.
The most absent. Just as Dr. T said, we didn't have the opportunities to sit in a room or space to give our last goodbyes.
Correct.
Mental health services were not available, and they were not in person. So if you couldn't get someone on a phone who could relate or connect, it just didn't happen. And so it's courageous of you all to share how key it is, especially in our universities where, you know, people are trying to get to another chapter in their lives, that the support that they need most when they're balancing a host of things was just totally absent. The mental health field seemed to have, everyone else was able to share. We had to get computers and phones and work virtual. The mental health team did it too, but it was just, how can we offer something so vital and we're not in person? We know it's available now, but it was the most absent, vital piece of support needed during this time. And I can only imagine what it was like for you all during this time to have that crucial element just not available for you to touch, see, feel, smell, all of the above. So I applaud you for being a part of this organization and being the first to bring the much needed recognition. So thank you.
Thank you.
As you see, guys, there's a lot of support for what you're doing. Have you felt that you have received mostly support from people when it comes to not only the memorial aspect, but also the promotion of mental health, especially young people your age? How do they receive your offers or your suggestions for this?
Well, we actually we had a student of the college who reached out to us on our New York chapter Instagram page. And she actually expressed that she submitted both of the names of her parents. And, we started putting up the hearts at the library of the college, and she just sent us a whole message thanking us so much for, just bringing this to the campus, bringing awareness to COVID losses, but also, giving her the opportunity to memorialize both of her parents. And even with, the community as a whole, I mean, right now, Danielle and I and our New York State chapter lead, Pablo Lopez Jr., and the founder, Rosie, we're actually planning the second annual COVID March to Remember walk across the Brooklyn Bridge in August. That was something that was done last year, and, we're doing it this year. And we all agree that it's so important for us to do it and continue to do it years on, because, as we've all seen, especially in New York, with the mandates being lifted, everyone who has not significantly been affected by the pandemic, whereas they've lost a loved one, are COVID survivors or COVID long haulers, they're like, oh, like COVID's over. Like, that's it. Like, the government told us it's fine. So whatever, I mean, we actually went through our new mayor. He didn't even, do a memorial the way the mayor last year did for the first death in New York City and New York State. And he only made a comment on that anniversary, that 2-year anniversary, much later in the day. So quite honestly, we feel like, everybody here is starting to forget about it. Other people who are involved in chapters have expressed the same thing. So, we're really trying.
I think it's important too to for everyone to understand like what we spoke about, that with the loss that we experienced, like we didn't get a goodbye. We didn't we couldn't be in the room. We couldn't, we couldn't hold his hand. We couldn't do any of that. And then another thing to remember is we only saw him when he was in the ICU over a FaceTime call that we would get once a day. And, it was kind of like begging the nurses. He had amazing nurses, but, of course they're busy. And, we had to keep calling. Could we please see him over the FaceTime? Even though he couldn't, he was in a coma, but he could hear us. Well, we hope that he could hear us. We believe in that. And we would just speak to him and pray. And it was it was very traumatizing. Those final moments that we had to do goodbyes over a FaceTime call.
That, and when we actually spoke to him on FaceTime a half hour before he was ventilated. We're grateful, Sarah, I love you, and talk and laugh, and we're like planning future trips and stuff. And then a half hour later, his nurse, called back in a panic because his vitals were dropping and he was losing oxygen and he had to be ventilated. And I actually had class 20 minutes after that happened, which
I was in class.
She was in class. I had class before, and we ended up not going to class for the next 2 weeks. As we went through this, but again, it was early mornings, late nights, trying to do homework because our papa was very big on, supporting us in school and everything. And I think he would have killed us if he knew that we were like, oh, forget school, so, we were trying to do that. And unfortunately, we were so on top of things, and trying to research and do this and that after we lost him, after his funeral, after his burial, that's when the magnitude of the grief really started to kick in.
Because we were so busy.
The semester was over. We didn't have nothing, so, this is very important to us, and we're really trying to, spread awareness, not only about Yellow Heart, but just the fact that, our loved ones are not just the number. Those who have passed are part of the 1%, and
or people will ask you, well, did he have underlying conditions?
Yeah.
Like those questions some don't realize, but it's really insensitive to just try to, they're just trying to say, well, that's why he passed. No, it was COVID. And yeah, even if someone does have an underlying condition, if they were sick with something else, maybe they would have gotten better. But with COVID, it's so evil and it really just attacks their bodies. So, those kind of questions that we always hear whenever somebody hears he passed from COVID just hits us, and all over again. We just feel like we experience it again.
Yeah.
I'd like to say something really quickly, and that is that people need to be a lot more aware of the need to shut up. Really.
Yeah.
People need to be a lot more aware and the need for them to shut up. If you don't know, maybe you don't need to.
Yep.
If someone hasn't called and told you personally, wait till an announcement is made. If you weren't in the know, it's because you do not need to be in the know. When someone is going through something, the best and only thing you can do is say, I'm here for you. I know that I don't necessarily understand what you feel, but I love you and I'm here for you. And that's it. We don't need to understand anything else. We don't need to know anything else. We don't need to explain away or justify or give any reason. We don't even necessarily have to offer justification to why God would have done or not done something. All we need to do is say, we're here for you because we love you. And that's it. And I think that sometimes in our effort to have a conversation, we end up hurting people more than if we had just, and you almost feel like, shut the heck up. That is what I wish people would understand.
Yeah,
The other two, yeah. Go ahead, Nota.
I think, Tricia, that a lot of it is that people are trying to justify or explain things away. And honestly, that's not our role.
No, we don't need,
We
nobody
don't
needs it.
need to explain. We don't need to justify. We don't need to make it better for the person.
Nobody needs it, and nobody can.
That is not needed. I think that what Tricia is saying here is critical. That all we need to do is just be there for the person. Teresa, I think you unmuted, so I'm going to unmute you to share what you want to say.
Yes. I just want to say, we just need to be present. That's all. And that's why it's so hard. And I'm sorry, my internet got cut off and I was struggling to get back on, but I might have missed something and I'm just repeating, but I think that, that's the most difficult part of losing someone to COVID is the fact that we couldn't be present.
Mm-hmm.
And because that is the most important thing, it really doesn't allow us to say goodbye, to let go, to have closure. And, young women, excuse me, you're so young. My two girls, I have 4 kids and my 2 eldest are girls, and their grandmother passed away because of COVID in late April, the last days of April, she passed away. But and we struggle to say, to have that closure. So finding out about your organization is something that I'm going to personally benefit from, because I'm going to pass this on to my daughters and really help them to have that closure. So thank you so much for what you're doing. It's amazing. And my condolences for your loss.
Thank you. My condolences as well.
Could you share with us, maybe you can put it there in the private chat, a contact for you, or the URL of the chapter, or your Instagram, whatever it is, just put it in the chat and we'll share it with everyone so that people can contact you. I think that, my colleagues here, both Tricia and Teresa, have shared some very important things. But I don't want us to lose the fact that here you are, 2 young women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only joining, because people can join an organization, but you did not simply join because you experience pain. You are trying to take it to another level by actually becoming the voice for not just people who have experienced that pain. And yes, you're right. There are many, and that was my concern for a long time. So many college students were impacted. And Jessica, you and I had those conversations. Mm-hmm. They were impacted by COVID in so many ways. And too many colleges either they did not know how to deal with it, or they felt this is just not our purview. That's not our business. Mm-hmm. And they did nothing, not knowing that pain and that struggle and that challenge translates into how you do school, into whether you're going to stay in school or not, how you're going to get your grades, how you're going to pay for tuition, because many people then could not. So unfortunately, some institutions were not able to link that. But I think the important piece here is that not only are you being a voice for those many, many of us who lost friends and family and just neighbors, during this COVID, but you're also being a voice for your generation, because you're leading with saying, listen, we have been there, we have experienced it, and this is what we need to be able to heal and go forward. I think that it's so powerful what you're doing, and I hope that the magnitude, while the loss has been huge for the entire world, I hope that the magnitude of what you are trying to create and what you're leading is not lost on you, because this is huge.
Thank you.
And we thank you for just coming and taking the time and just being honest and sharing that. Because again, back to Tricia's point and to Teresa's point, we don't know how to be present, and we really don't know how to grieve. We don't know how to grieve with others. We don't know how to grieve ourselves. We feel that grieving is, oh, okay, they're in heaven or they're whatever, and let's forget about it and let's move on.
No.
Not saying that it's a process that remains with us. This loss is significant. It's this entire human being is no longer present in our life. It's a real loss.
Especially, something we always say too is, COVID loss is so significant because the terminology and just COVID itself is in your face 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on social media, in the news, buses passing by, I mean, Danielle and I have actually submitted, we're working with New York State Senator Joseph Adabo. We actually have submitted our proposal, which he's working with us in the Adams administration, to have a permanent memorial for those who have, been lost in New York City to COVID. We're also we're hoping that, the memorial that we have at Queens College would, allow us to work with other CUNY campuses to do the same for their students as well, and possibly SUNYs as well. And I'm also in June going to speak at Mental Health America's Mental Health Conference about, just COVID in general and COVID loss, and, being a graduate student and trying to be that change, for our generation. So we're working hard. We're trying, like we said, we're doing everything, and anything we can for our Papa. Just quickly about, what we've shared to Facebook. The Yellow Heart Memorial is a Facebook group. The founder did it that way when she first established Yellow Heart, because she wanted to make sure that there was interactions between people who submitted their information. So when you join Yellow Heart Memorial on Facebook, there's actually, numerous memorials where you can submit your loved one's name to, and it would be placed not only in that specific location, but it would be in our database. So any memorial that you have, whether your loved one was from Chicago, their name will be in New York. And if your loved one was from Africa, then they would be, in New Jersey. So we're really trying to group everyone, together and really make it special. And we've also included our New York chapter, where you can see the things that we've been working on, as well. So yes. And also our walk. So if you go on runsignup.com, that's actually where, that's the official website, and you type in COVID March to Remember. And our event is going to be across the Brooklyn Bridge on Saturday, August 6th of this year. So we are celebrating, COVID survivors and long haulers, but we're also celebrating our loved ones lost to COVID, to show the world, not only New York, but the entire world, that our loved ones were here, and loved, and they're more than just a number.
Yeah, I love that. They're more than just a number, and their lives mattered, and they matter to us still. We have shared on both Facebook and YouTube how you can follow the Facebook page. You can join Yellow Heart Memorial, and then there's also that Instagram that you can follow Jessica and Danielle specifically for that New York chapter. I love that you're working on legislation. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit more about that. Like, what is your aim in the long run for that? How did that come about?
Well, I think it definitely came about because, once again, like we're saying, with all the restrictions lifting and now the mask mandates, especially in the schools where, that's where we are, we feel like everyone is forgetting, but we can't forget even if we wanted to, because all day it's on the news and in front of you. So we thought, we need a memorial. We need, the same way we see other memorials throughout the city, and they're so beautiful and families can visit and have some peace. We want a place where families can go visit, remember, and have a sense of peace there too. So with the help of Senator Joseph Adabo, we're going to, try our best to make that happen so that everyone has that safe place to go to.
Is there a way that people can support this effort? So do we have to wait until the legislation kind of makes it somewhere? Or can people call the senator? Is there something people can do now to help support your
or
effort?
sign a petition? Yeah.
What can
That
people
would be
do?
wonderful.
I think that's something that we would definitely love to work on work on with you.
Yeah.
As of December, we actually sent the proposal to the senator, in which he sent to the Mayor Adams's office. If you're from New York, you are aware of the numerous New York City police officers that were killed in the line of duty tragically.
Right.
So that kind of set things back. And, we're still waiting to hear from his administration. So, we would love to let you all know and keep you posted about everything. And it would be wonderful if we can have, support and, in that way as well. So
Does it have a specific name that people can use to say we are calling or we are writing to support this proposal or this initiative? I think that's important, and that beyond our us inviting you to this room today to share your story and your love for your grandpa, it's so visible still, and we can see everything he invested in you. We can see it. It is evident, and we're so proud of you and care so much for what is happening. Beyond that, if there's something that people can do to literally help you push this proposal forward, specific, how do we do that? Maybe it's something also that we could share, Norca, on the chat.
Right. So I'm thinking, Jessica and Danielle, that if you work on a petition, because usually petitions are good to pick up, support. That is something that we can help to push forward. If you think about calling, write out a little script and what people can call and say, that would be great. So I think that it will give legs to the, and I get it. Not only has there been violence towards police officers, violence in New York has escalated. If you don't live in New York, you would not imagine. But we are at numbers that are astronomical. I mean, anyone who lives in New York, just turn on your phone in the morning and you'll be shocked at the type of violence that and New York, people think New York was always very violent. Honestly, not the levels ever. And you gave ladies not the level ever that we've seen. But I want to segue back to the issue of COVID. So while I feel that in our mind, and this is just my, Tricia's a doctor, she can definitely correct me. Teresa has lost family. I've lost friends, but not family. Shonda, you're in the social work field. While I feel that as I want to say maybe country, and it happens a lot in New York too, as you said, we have a new major that's just like COVID doesn't exist. It seems to me that we are riding on an illusion that this is the end, and there's this new back to normal thing. My sense is that we will not be back to normal, at least not right now. Some people are saying we're going to have to live with COVID for the long term. And that sounds close to it. But then my question is, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that I'm getting a vaccine every year? Does that mean that we're going to have more deaths? As young people looking at this, what is your sense to where we are in this moment historically with COVID? And how do you see, because I know that you mentioned this to me and you said it today, that, the mask mandate was lifted. People feel, okay, we're good. We're liberated. Let's move forward. What is your sense about where we are and where we're going to be next?
You want to go first?
Well, I was going to say that the truth is that when we lost our papa in March of 2020, I know it's a very March of 2021. I'm sorry. It was a very specific time to remember, but that was a moment when it was relaxing as well. And I remember our family was feeling like a weird peace, thinking, wow, okay, we're in a new year, things are getting better. We got past this. So with all these mandates, I think it's scary for those who've lost someone to ever feel a moment where we can get comfortable, because we were comfortable in March. And that's when we thought, okay, we got past this wave. And then he passed.
He got sick.
So one thing we should, of course, he didn't have the vaccine at the time. He was on a waiting list. He was someone who was a bit stubborn and he wanted it only with his doctor. And he thought it was safer that way. It was a doctor he trusted, that office. So we respected that.
Instead of the mass vaccination.
Yeah, he wanted it with an office he felt safe at. And, we respected that. He would feel more comfortable. And unfortunately, the week he passed, that was the week he was supposed to get the vaccine. So, for us, it's like very hard to see. Of course, everyone has their own decisions and their own opinions. But for us, it's like when we got our vaccines, we felt a little bit of guilt. And like it was painful because it was like, he wanted it so badly and he was so ready to have it because he was really very scared of this virus. And for people to take it for granted that they could get it, it hurts to, like, for our family and for families who can relate, because we don't take it for granted.
Yeah, well, we actually, which we didn't mention, we actually contracted the virus in December. So to actually contract the virus the same year that you watch your loved one die over FaceTime in a hospital alone, that definitely not only added on to our grief, but just this feeling of like,
is this what he was feeling?
And like something that we've also spoke about too is, we mentioned this sense of a lack of understanding, a lack of support, a lack of compassion, a lack of accountability, generally speaking. When we first brought it to the college, that, Danielle came up with the idea to have the virtual support group, and we partnered with New York Project Hope. One of the people we actually met with said, wow, like, I never really thought about this before. And it was like, we're just
Are you serious?
1,000 students. Now we have students who are submitting their loved ones' names, that we have one who just lost 2 parents. We have another one who lost a mother and a sibling, grandparents. It's like, just this sense of nobody really understands.
Disconnect.
You say you have a COVID loss, and then, like Danny said, well, were they sick? Did they even get the vaccine? Oh, that didn't really happen. They probably had something else.
Wow.
So it's a lot, and especially, we're young. I'm 25 and Danny's 22, and we're working in the schools with little kids who now don't wear masks, and teachers, a lot of teachers who didn't believe in it in the first place. So trying to live our lives, but also living our lives cautiously. But that's also changed a lot of relationships in our lives, because, we experience it and we actually were sick with it, I mean, it's very hard. It's very difficult.
There's no there's no going back to a normal, at least for us. There's
I wanted to screen this comment, and I want us to end here with this, and I want each one of you to share. Glenda said there is no normalcy, echoing what you're saying here, Danielle. There's a new strain in the country right now. And it's the normalcy is not just about the disease itself, but the way we're looking at life and death. I at one point I remember feeling the fear, and you're actually vocalizing it. The fear that people are going to feel that death is just disposable, that people are disposable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one died. Of course. Oh, okay. Next kind of thing. And I feel that in many ways we have gotten to that point, right? So your initiative is actually pushing back on that, right? It's forcing people to sit with the reality of our loss, our collective loss all over the world. What do you foresee for this initiative going forward? In the next 3-5 years, where do you see this? What do you think about it?
I think there's, unfortunately, COVID is not going to go away. And as we see, like on the news and stuff, you may have a booster, but every day different things are coming out where they're saying, well, you need another one. And eventually there's a lot of people who got the booster, but they're going to be reluctant to get another one. They're going to say, well, you told me to get that one. So I think there's going to be more people who are going to start going backwards and saying, well, we're not going to, make this better. It's already over. It's already gone. It's been years. So I don't think it's going to get any better the way people view this. I think if anything, it's going to get worse.
I also think that, prior to the pandemic, the entire world has had, issues in regards to mental health and mental services and lack thereof. And, it was only approximately 2 weeks ago when, the National Organization of Mental Health and everything, and the CDC actually announced that it's a problem. It's huge. You know, our youth, people who are our age are committing suicide like they never have in generations prior. You know, it's great to have, you know, counselors at colleges, but when you have over 19,000 students and you have 4 counselors that are trying to fit all those students in
There's no
with various, you know, backgrounds and issues, especially with COVID,
there's no
it's a lot. It's a
It's
lot.
daunting.
And once we start focusing on, you know, really trying to make mental health a priority and really having this, unfortunately, this kind of understanding as people, you know, that you're supposed to be compassionate. You know, you may not agree with someone else, you may have different experiences and different views, but that doesn't make their feelings any less.
Or
You
the
know,
death
or their death, exactly.
whether or not you believe if it's real or not, you know, it was still a loss to someone.
Right, right. Jessica and Danielle, we're going to start with Shonda. We usually have it as a habit here that we want to affirm you before you leave us for the night. So Shonda, let's start with the affirmations for Jessica and Danielle.
I definitely would before I could do it, I just wanted to share that for all of us in this pink room, this pandemic it was novice, right? Nothing that any of us have ever experienced, and I would just love to see how going forward what you all are doing will set a precedence for how the world reacts to this loss and hopefully prepares others. No one's prepared for death, but at least to prepare you for what those losses can look like when there's a world experiencing a pandemic and we don't know which way it's going to go from this point. So, Jessica and Danielle, I want to take this opportunity to give thanks. This is Her Story Month, and it is such a pleasure to have 2 beautiful sisters who are on here courageous enough and bold enough to share your personal loss, and our condolences again to the loss of your papa. But I see that he would be so proud to know that you're out here doing such a great thing, that people who've experienced what you all have had can see that there's an experience from a different angle and not one as rough as it was for you all. So I affirm you both. I give you all the best wishes that can surround you, be in you, hold you up and above you, so that as you pursue this opportunity, the world won't forget what people experienced for losing loved ones during COVID. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shonda. Teresa, you want to go?
Yes. I guess what I have to say is that, you know, everything you're doing is, you know, even though it's it's being born out of pain, it will help you process it. It's, you know, by doing something about it. You know, when I learned this somewhere, and I just want to share this with you. You know, once you embrace the process of this painful experience, you become advocates, and that's what I see you 2 doing. And I just couldn't be more hopeful for the future, knowing that there are women as you 2, and I'm sure everybody and everybody who's around this organization, also supporting it, that there is hope for humanity as a whole, that we will recognize that the value of our society comes from how we value every single individual, their lives and their passings. So my blessings are with you, and I know that I am sure, and I you know, this is, you know, just my speaking it out into the universe, that you will find your peace in this, you know, painful experience, by helping others. So thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you too. Thank you.
I lived with my grandfather maybe a year. when I was 7 years old. And I still remember, and I'm 51, conversations that I had. But what I most remember is how he made me feel like the most important little girl in the world. And that was a feeling that I haven't, it's not the same with anybody else. So the love that your grandfather gave you and the time he spent with you is so evident in who you are as young women today. That hasn't passed. It hasn't been lost. It's not gone. It will continue for as long as you live. And for as long as you can share that same love with those that are around you, the children that you teach, the young people that you support, the older ones like us that you center back into what it means to be the bravest generation that has ever lived, because the last time something like this happened in the world, everybody who experienced it is dead. So the bravest living generation we have right now is you. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that every word that you said as he was in the ICU, he felt, because we feel love. We don't hear love. We don't see love. We feel love. And that connection that you had was there, no matter what the distance, no matter how sick he was. So he passed away knowing that the little girls he loved him. And I want you to know that we're so proud of you, of having you in this pink room today, of seeing what you're doing with your pain. And we know that not only is there a great future, a great present, because you have chosen to stand in your power as women and make a difference for others who will go through what you've been through. And that's what makes a woman. What makes a woman is that ability to create support for people who are going through what they have gone through. Anytime you ever need anything where we can be of any sort of help and support, just let us know. We love you and we're proud.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us this space to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jessica and Danielle, I want to thank your grandpa. I want to thank your grandpa because your grandfather was a man ahead of his time. He saw his granddaughters and he didn't see them as, oh, these are little porcelain dolls that I'm just going to cherish and take care of. He literally deposited in you his energy, his strength, his joy for life. You know, he took you to a concert. Which grandpa does that, right? So that to me says a lot about who he was, and that's a legacy that he left with you. And while he is no longer physically here, his presence is with you, because that legacy, you're standing upon that foundation of that strong legacy. He made you into warriors, and you are out here with your spade, and you are just making sure that you're making room for not only your voice, but for the voices of so many others, because you're taking pain literally and you're transforming it into healing glory. And you're opening that space wherever you go. I mean, Jessica is not my student. I met Jessica on a show. Both of us were invited to speak on this thing, but so much wisdom came out of her. And I'm like, this young woman is she's going to light up the world. And then she shared with me that she and her sister were doing this thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have you invite you to speak to my students. But then I'm like, no, let's give them, they deserve a broader platform. So I am so excited about what is going to happen. Like my eyes are burning with this journey. Like I can see already that you're already a force, but that you're going to just open up. Like we'll see your name and we'll say, "Oh yeah, we saw that."
Yeah, remember us on that day, and come back and visit.
Saw that coming. So I want to thank your grandpa because he is the type of man that we need in this world. That he understood these are two gems, and I'm going to make sure that they're strong and they're unbreakable, and they're going to be warriors, and they're going to do in the world. They're going to carry forth my strength and my force as a legacy. So thank you for coming to the room, and thank you for sharing your whole selves, and thank you for the wisdom and the compassion that you have shared. We are immensely touched by it, and I'm sure that in the days to come, as people watch, this will remain with them. So more power on your journey, as Tricia said, and as Teresa and Shonda. Anytime, Jessica, you know my email. Anytime, reach out. Hey, what about this? Can we do this? And once you start, you need legs for the legislation, we'll invite you back again. And then you start talking about what you want us to do.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your support truly means
thank you also
so much. Thank you.
Thank you both. Beautiful ladies. Thank you so much. And the comments here are just beautiful. People have connected with you tonight, and I'm sure that people will share with other people with other persons in the days to come. But we want to specifically thank you. Thank you, Danielle. And you guys gave up your Saturday night? Oh wow, this is that's like huge. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all so much. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we're just gonna end with a comment. I'm gonna ask each one of the co-hosts the theme for this year was breaking the bias, and we heard of the fantastic work that our teams are doing all over the world, right? And that's not all the teams. And at the beginning, I was like, okay, they're sharing every detail of their work. Like, why are they sharing exactly everything that they did? But it was important for them to do that, so that people understand that when they go to a For Real Women International event and gather these people who are watching, we don't say to the teams, oh, we want you to do this way, that way. No, we only set up a few structures to make sure you're in your uniform, make sure you send the pictures, make sure there's certain frameworks for branding that we do, but people come up with their own creative programs based on the needs of their communities. And I've been blown away tonight. I mean, just listening to the passion and just the threading of how every detail of each program went. So how can we break the bias? The ladies have shared what they have done in their communities to break the bias. Like, what is one thing that we believe can happen or should happen for the bias to be broken? This was the sign. How do we break the bias?
I want to say that things happen for a reason. We were supposed to meet last week, and Jessica and Alejandra Jessica and Vanessa were not, they were available, and we needed to have this conversation with them. I think one of the biases that we need to break, that I was going to talk about a little bit later as well, is a bias within ourselves. The bias against good enough. We have a bias, especially when we are women of color who have had to fight to be where we are, that we have to always be fighting. We have a bias that says that everything has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, it's not good enough. And I think the biggest bias we need to break is the bias against ourselves as being worthy of love and compassion and time and kindness and peace from our own minds. Every other bias from the outside is not as hurtful as the bias we have against our own selves in what we demand and expect from our own selves. And it may not be the theme going with the theme in general, because we usually look at bias as things people do. But more and more, I've been thinking about our inside space, where we live inside, and what that means.
I like that, Dr. T. I'm just thinking about how we needed to surrender to the power we have and use it the way we're supposed to. And one of the healthier ways that I can see breaking the bias is each time we have the opportunity to come into spaces like this, the pink room, that we use, agitate, cause, disruption as women, no matter where we are, whenever we see people intentionally being hindered from an opportunity to be their best and being your best, and it's something good towards humanity, it only adds to humanity. So at any point where we have the opportunity to prevent others, including ourselves, from hindering people from getting to participate or be a part of an opportunity that allows them to progress and grow, I think that's what breaking the bias means for me, is using our voices, agitating, speaking out, stepping up wherever we see. It's just like injustice. We should not ever tolerate injustice. So we should not ever tolerate, we should not ever tolerate injustice, and we should not ever tolerate biases as well.
On March 8th, I asked myself what was I going to say in class regarding this day, right? And I asked my student. I started by asking questions, right, as a good educator should do. And so I asked, why do you think that when the International Day of the Woman is important, and why should we still acknowledge it, right? Because as some of the comments reflected, hey, women have actually, they've got quite a bit, they've come a long way, baby, right? To quote a cigarette commercial. And I was reminded of a woman's story that for some reason had been, if I had heard it in the past, for some reason it had been lost in my archives, my mental archives. But I was reminded of Hypatia, and this Greek philosopher, first mathematician woman to be recorded in history, and the level of her influence and the tragedy of her death. And I also mentioned to my students, in Mexico, I heard this statistic, because Mexico is considered a state where women die, in high rates just because of the. So it's in Spanish they say estado feminicida, and 10 women a day die, not because they got sick, not because they they were in an accident, or because they're old. They died because they were women. And so I made it a point to stress to my students, this is the reason we must never stop talking about what women and their value, not because of what they do, because a lot of the comments were, well, women have done a lot for society. I say, women should be valued just because they are human beings. They're women, and that should be the only reason, not because we become doctors and professionals. No, we should just be regarded as valuable because
we exist because we're human. And I think that the biggest bias is that, understanding that as women, when you were you were sharing your comment, Tricia, you were saying, we I think that that's one of the biggest biases that we need to break, is that in order to be recognized, in order to be valued, in order to we have to be something or do something, right? And I mentioned to my students, I said, hey, that women are not supposed to be celebrated on Mother's Day. They need their own day, because they are women first and foremost. And that's the biggest bias. It's just the fact that we continue to, as Shonda was saying, speak, use our voice, and remind the world that there's a reason why we have to continue saying that. It's because every day in one single country, 10 women die just because they are women. So the hope and the vision is that there will come a day when we will all feel that we are part of the human race.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just want to add one little short thing here. I think that when we think about breaking bias, we want those good men around us to be co-conspirators.
Allies.
We have these men, we have men that understand, they see it. So we want you to, and you align with us, but we also want you to co-conspire with us, to go into the rooms and call our names. There's a position coming up. You know that this woman is capable, put her name on the board. And if someone tries to shoot it down, defend it. There's a woman that has been treated poorly or differently, point it out. Well, we don't get that treatment, but why are we treating her that way? We need more men to not just understand the struggle, but to stand up and speak for and be part of making that change. Making that change doesn't just come with us aligning, it is going to take action. So we want men to join us and take action. I want to share 2 final announcements. My apologies. We're doing the race again. And this year's race is going to be totally digitalized. So you're going to go to the website. That's www.4rwi.org. The admission fee per person is $20 each for the US, $10 international. And you're going to be able to make a team of 2 to 5 women. And it's all going to be there. The explanations are going to be there. You download the app. We already have the page. You can go directly to the URL that's there, get the information, download the app. And once we begin April 3rd, every step that you make is going to be counted. And you will be able to see which teams are progressing. So we are moving away from Google. We're doing this. This is a real challenge. Let's see how we can do it. So the goal is that you do 8,500 to 10,000 steps a day. You may some days have to make up on the other day, but you're competing with teams. So we invite all the women to get your teams together. What happens if I have more than 5 women? Then split the team in 2. What happens if I'm 1? Get somebody else so you can have 2. But let's get on this walk to make sure that we are not only helping ourselves physically, losing some good weight before the summer, but also there's a mental health component to walking.
Yes.
So we want you to join us on that walk, right? So here's the URL. I signed up already. You can sign up, get all the information, have the app ready so that April 3rd coming, and I want some women to join my team. April 3rd, you're ready. June 5th, then we will see who the winners are. This year, we're giving certificates for those women who complete the walk and make that they put in all the steps. And by the way, the interesting thing about this app is that this app is going to take us on a journey. I cannot remember what country in the world, but there's a particular country in the world that every step that we make, when we get to certain benchmarks, there's some clues and some slides and some photos and some information that we're going to get as if we're walking in that particular country. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We invite you to join us. And then tomorrow we're having chapters 3 and 4, of The Power of Women. And if you've been reading the book, it gets intense. It gets pretty intense, right? And we want you to join us tomorrow. This is on Clubhouse. You download the app, look for Pink Room Extended. Join us at 7:15. Join us for the discussion. I don't know, any of you ladies want to say something about chapters 3 and 4? I felt that it was pretty intense. I kept like reading pieces, underlining, putting it down, talking about it, thinking about it. It was a lot. And I just think about this doctor and all the stuff that he has to experience. It's just amazing. I don't know, Teresa, go ahead.
All I can say is I hope he has gotten a lot of therapy, because I had to go to therapy to just get through those two chapters. It was intense. I'm serious. I had a sit down with my massage therapist. Actually just gave me a kind of just letting go of all of those emotions that were building up as I was reading through the pain of these women through the eyes of the doctor. And but as she shared with me, we must acknowledge the pain, but not look to make it, not relive it, because then we would be validating their experience. So anyway, yes, a must read. But yes, a quick tip: just remember as you read, yes, validate the pain that you're of the women that you're reading about. But I think that one of the most important things that we can do is know that there's hope for all of them, and for all of us too. So as we read through those pages.
Thank you, Teresa. Awesome. All right, so we're going to Shonda and Teresa. Thank you so much. You guys did fantastic today. We're going to close out with community care, and we'll see you guys next time in the Pink Room. Thank you so much, Teresa and Shonda. Fantastic work. Have a good one. Tricia, let's take it away. What are our closing feelings tonight as we think about, Danielle and Jessica shared the loss of their grandpa, and the incredible loss that this entire global community has experienced. And not only for COVID, now in this case, our very good friend that has passed away suddenly. So how do we take care of ourselves as a community as we think about those people who brought so much light to our lives, and now those lights are no longer there, they're dim? What are your thoughts as to how do we take care as a community?
I think that if we haven't learned with COVID that life is short, and that opportunities to let people that we love know are not infinite, then we haven't learned any. I think that it's not a lack of saying I love you. And especially for those of us who express it freely and often, it can become almost an automatic phrase, even though we really do mean it. I think that one thing we can do as a community is to our personal community, is to take a moment to think about what that person means to our life, and to let them know that beyond the I love you, say a couple reasons why. Give a couple examples of when you saw it, and take a couple minutes to share a moment, whatever way is best, to have that connection to say, I really do love you, and this is why I'm saying that today.
Tricia,
Yeah.
you have, these are such wise words. I will tell you that today I stayed home, but I had so many phone calls from people in the network that knew Molisa, know us. And I want to thank, here's a friend of mine, Edar Villarreal, you might know him.
Yeah, I remember Edar, Tito's brother, Tito's older brother.
Driving his 18-wheeler, he called me today and he said, I love you, Negra. I love you. And we talked about Molisa. Hilma Jimenez, who I grew up with as a child, we lost track at some point when she came over to the United States, also texting me saying, I love you. You saying to me that you love me. You texted me. Eleonor Pusey saying to me, Yenori Gale. I mean, Libna Abbott, who was in the same classroom with Molisa. Just the amount of people who felt that this moment is a moment for us to do what you have said here.
Yes.
They didn't vocalize it that way, but I think we all felt it.
Yes.
While we're alive, let's love people.
Yeah.
And love doesn't have to be the people under my roof or the people who give me something. It's just the people that shed some level of light in our lives.
Yes.
We need to express that love, let them feel that we are there for them, and not wait or hold back.
Yes.
At all. So I thank you for that. I think that if we as a community would start to do that more,
yes,
I think it will make a significant difference. I want to add that as a community, we need to take more moments to enjoy life.
Yes.
Molisa enjoyed life. She laughed loudly.
Yes.
She liked to run jokes.
Yes.
I think that, and I started to think about myself. I was a loud laugh for many years, and I'm like, wait, I haven't laughed lately that loud.
Yes.
We need to take joy and grab it and hold it and enjoy it and enjoy the people around us. So I think the message for this community care today is love, express it to those who shed light on our way, and also embrace joy.
Can I say something really briefly? A couple things. Number one, the way I found out was because you told me. I could have found out from Facebook. You took the time because you knew what it would mean to make sure that you were the one to tell me. And at the time you called me, I couldn't talk, and I said, can you write? And you said, no, I need to tell this to you. And I asked, are you okay? And you said, yes, I am, but it's bad news. And as soon as I could, I called, and that is when you told me. And I really appreciated that because that was love for me. It also means that there are times when we need to be quiet, and that is love. And that there are insensitive things that we do that seem to be unimportant, but they are very harmful, and they can cause more than pain. And I really want to entreat, as part of the community care, anybody who's listening and anybody who hears or watches this show from now on to forever. If it's not your news to tell, be quiet. And if you're not sure, then wait. But we need to be so careful about using our fingertips, our phones, and our voices to insert ourselves into people's lives at a moment when they need all the fortitude and support that they can get. And we don't know how they need to receive a piece of news. The way you told me was how I needed to receive those news. And I needed to receive those news from you. And I think that is important as a community, that we understand the value of being quiet when that is what we need to do. And you know why I'm saying this.
And listen, this is the thought that we should end on.
We need to be there for people, and we need to be quiet when we need to be quiet. So everyone, once again, thank you for joining us. We hope that this Pink Room has been an inspiration to you. And we say good night, peace out, and we'll see you on the next one.
Love you, Norca.
Love you too. Love you. Bye-bye.
And we'll see you next time in the Pink Room.
The Pink Room is a produced resource of For Real Women International, Inc., a non-profit organization with headquarters in New York and affiliates in the United States, Latin America, and the Caribbean. The views expressed here by hostesses and guests do not necessarily represent the philosophy of For Real Women International, its affiliates, members, and board of directors.